Let me begin by making just a thumbnail definition of the geopolitical context in which we all find ourselves, including America. And in my perspective, that geopolitical context is very much defined by two new global realities. The first is that global political leadership, by which I mean the role of certain leading powers in the world, has now become much more diversified, unlike what it was until relatively recently. Relatively recently still, the world was dominated by the Atlantic world, as it had been for many centuries. It no longer is. Today, the rise of the Far East has created a new but much more differentiated global leadership, one which in a nutshell involves, if one can hazard an arbitrary list of the primary players on the world scene, the United States, clearly, maybe next to it, but maybe the European Union. I say maybe because it is not yet a political entity, certainly increasingly so, and visibly so, China, Russia, mainly in one respect only, because it is a nuclear power co-equal to the United States, but otherwise very deficient in all of the major indices of what constitutes global power. Behind Russia, perhaps individually, but to a much lesser extent, Germany, France, Great Britain, Japan, certainly, although it does not have a politically assertive posture. India is rising. And then in the background of that, we have the new entity of G20, a much more diversified global leadership, lacking internal unity, with many of its members in bilateral antagonisms. That makes the context much more complicated. The other major change in international affairs is that for the first time in all of human history, mankind is politically awakened. That's a total new reality. Total new reality. It has not been so for most of human history until the last 100 years. And in the course of the last 100 years, the whole world has become politically awakened. And no matter where you go, politics is a matter of social engagement, and most people know what is generally going on in the world, and are consciously aware of global iniquities, inequalities, lack of respect, exploitation. Mankind is now politically awakened and stirring. The combination of the two, a diversified global leadership, politically awakened masses, makes a much more difficult context for any major power, including currently the leading world power, the United States.
I really enjoyed your presentation, but I'm wondering, how would you rate the United Nations in helping solve some of the geopolitical problems we've had? Some people say they're not adding a lot of solutions, and some people even suggest we should have another organization internationally that can do the job that the United Nations should be doing. And even people are talking about one world governments. I mean, how do you view the UN right now?
Well, there should be such an organization. The word should implies that there is a kind of moral imperative or need for it. But it doesn't exist. Why doesn't it exist? Because we don't have a situation in which there is a concentrated source of power that has universal reach. Not even America has that. So the United Nations functions well in areas in which it is possible to generate consensus. And that deals usually with elements pertaining to human suffering, or to well-being, or to health. For example, the Food Organization, the Health Organization, the relief agencies, or arbitration of conflicts of secondary importance, in which the international community can kind of endorse what the UN is doing. But the UN is not a world government. The UN, when it comes to politics, is based on a fiction, namely 190 states which are members, each of which is co-equal with the others, except for the 5 that have the veto right in the Security Council. So it is an organization which reflects the ongoing diversity of the world. And I think we have, as a consequence, we have to realize that real solutions to political problems, to political conflicts, come from those entities that have power and have the willingness or the ability to coalesce or get stymied in the process or even go into conflict. The UN can deal with areas regarding which there's a great deal of international consensus, like the ones I've mentioned. And that reality is going to continue for some time to come.
For 22 years, Prince Bandar was the ambassador to the United States from Saudi Arabia. Do you know him?
Yes.
We've also seen a lot of the friendship between Prince Bandar and George Herbert Walker Bush, and that President Bush 1, sent Prince Bandar to see his son in 1999 to advise him on running for the presidency. How about a relationship like that? Is it too close, or is that okay?
Well, I don't honestly know the details, and I don't know how important that advice was. I'm not aware of the fact that the current president was somehow or other resistant to the idea of running for the presidency. So I just don't know whether those facts are really valid even.
Well, the reason I bring it up, if you've ever heard any of our call-in shows, you know that we have people that think about the conspiracy theories of people like you. You would be a poster child for these people because you have served on the board of the Council on Foreign Relations. You helped start the Trilateral Commission, and you've been to the Bilderberger groups.
Well, yes, I haven't done those for years, so that's partial redemption, I suppose. But otherwise, yes.
But what is belonging to all those groups? We talked about the Trilateral Commission when you were here in 1989. But what about the association with that? Are people too close in this world? People in business too close to the governments?
Well, there is such a thing as insidious influence. And the question is, how does it operate? Does it involve bribery? And does it involve some sort of psychological domination of individuals? I don't believe in this notion of some sort of secret societies controlling people. But of course, in any political system, there are sort of over-the-table and under-the-table arrangements. As far as the organizations that you have mentioned, they're all on top of the table organizations. We know what they are. We know what they do. We probably exaggerate their influence in many cases. But most important of all, they operate overtly. Anybody who wants to know what the Council on Foreign Relations does can very easily find out. And once that person finds out, they'll probably discover that it really doesn't run the world, but often makes very useful recommendations. For example, we're all confronting the problem of Iran. Well, I don't know, maybe this will reinforce the conspiracy theories, but 2 years ago, I co-directed a study on U.S. policy towards Iran for the Council on Foreign Relations. I think still a very good study. I said I co-directed. Who was the other co-chairman? Robert Gates, currently the Secretary of Defense. Now, on the one hand, maybe that reinforces the conspiracy theory, that somehow or other we're pulling the strings from behind the scene. But alternatively, maybe it tells you something, namely that this is an open process. Anyone can get those recommendations, read them, know what they are, can assess them, whether they stand the test of time or not. I think that's all to the good.
Friends, welcome back to the second part of the show. You need to know about the National Defense Authorization Act and what it does. There's wording in there that says that the United States federal government can indefinitely detain United States citizens without a charge or trial. So they can snatch and grab you and throw you in a dungeon forever and not answer any questions about your whereabouts and not even charge you with a crime. Okay? And so our criminal Supreme Court has just upheld that that's okay. and there's nothing wrong with that. To detain, the decision was made last week by the United States Supreme Court that it is legal for the federal government to detain citizens as a national security threat, anyone deemed as a troublemaker. And so we've already seen with Obama's secret kill list, his drone killing, and now this, it's a full-on war against the American people. Okay, so realize that. And our Supreme Court, Congress, the executive branch, all corrupt, bought off, sold out, and they're in a war with us, whether you're aware of it or not. They have declared in the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, America a battlefield. And now the Supreme Court is backing them up on this. And so they're free to indefinitely detain American citizens now. And so that's right out of Nazi Germany. Here we are in America, 2014.
Well, it's pretty clear that when we saw the Obamacare decision go through, ruled legal, constitutional, that was pretty much the end of
any credibility.
For the Supreme Court. And the problem is, this probably wouldn't be as big of a problem if we had, the executive branch and Congress, if they were not corrupt. Then we could
separation of power.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're all corrupt now. There might be like 6 or 7 guys in there that really believe in the Constitution, but that's where we're at now. Is that every branch of government is now corrupt, and they know the agenda, because that's who pays them, that's who runs them, is these Bilderberger groups, Bilderberg, CFR, Club of Rome, Trilateral Commission. They're and big think tanks.
Rand
Corporation, the Gates Foundation, Ford Foundation,
Rockefeller Foundation,
Carnegie Foundation. All Royal Institute of International Affairs. I mean, these are the elitists that run our government, and they run the globe. So we need to. That's why the Supreme Court is passing that the National Defense Authorization Act is legal, even though it is the opposite of the Constitution.
It sounds insane even saying, Stuart.
Yes, it is.
That it can indefinitely detain American citizens with no charge or trial or anything.
For no reason, for as long as you want. I mean,
well, if you're deemed a troublemaker now, that's what. Troublemaker.
I guess we might be on the list.
Possibly.
And no, it's like saying the Supreme Court that's supposed to, judge what is constitutional. It's like them ruling that the Constitution is unconstitutional and that it needs to be just burned. That's what they're saying. And I know we try to stress this to people because people, they say, well, I don't get it. I mean, it's just for our protection. It's like the Patriot Act or whatever. And we when do we actually, I'm not seeing people get taken away in vans and, indefinitely detained. Not yet. Just like he said, not yet. Just wait until,
a false flag.
Or you lose, or the economy collapses, the dollar collapses. You can't buy food because no one has enough money to buy anything. And then you start going out and start protesting. You want someone's head. That's when they're going to say, oh, well, it's already in law. See, they're making it legal to do all the illegal acts that they're going to carry out.
Everything Hitler did was legal.
Yes, exactly.
And so this is all a march toward one world government, new world order, okay? Just like George Bush said in his 1,000 Points of Light speech back in 1991, okay? You go look at that speech, he spells it out. They want a new world order, okay? More of how they're collapsing us, okay? We went over Afghanistan, the Afghanistan quagmire of a war that we'll never win on the first part of the show. A guy, a technocrat, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was instrumental in getting us into Afghanistan and has been fomenting strife across the globe for many decades now. This man's pure evil. You go look at him and tell that this man is evil, okay? A quote from him, about him addressing some elites at a meeting. You can search it on YouTube and hear it from the horse's mouth. He says, "Today it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people." So that is this man Zbigniew Brzezinski's mindset, okay? He's a global technocrat. So you understand where he's coming from. And he recently wrote an article saying, titled, "What Obama Should Tell Americans About Ukraine. The crisis is getting worse. It's time to rally the nation." And so I'm not going to bore you with the details and reading this to you, but what it essentially says is, yeah, America should go ahead and jump into the war and publicly back, which they've already been backing covertly, back Ukraine and start a new war with Russia, okay? To further diminish America and bring us into this one world government order, which he wants. He's head of the Trilateral Commission, for God's sake. And so it's just another example of America needs to stay out of foreign wars of aggression and bring our resources back home, because we're collapsing right here. We're in a depression. A study came out by CNS News, a report came out by them. 86 million Americans work full-time that are supporting another 140 million Americans who are on public benefit programs, okay? That is not sustainable, and it can't last long, and that's all part of the program to collapse America. So our resources need to, regardless of the fact that this is a legal foreign war of aggression, and we need to follow the Constitution and not get into it, we need our resources here at home, because America is collapsing right in front of our eyes, Stuart.
For people who don't understand the whole Zbigniew Brzezinski viewpoint, is that Zbigniew Brzezinski, just like all these elites, CFR groups, Bilderbergers, they finance our government. And he's promoting this war for us to get in this illegal war that we have no business. I mean, literally, does anyone even know where Ukraine is on a map? No, most of the public does not. So this is how it works. This is how our country operates. Zbigniew Brzezinski helps fund the government, and then he has his daughter, Mika Brzezinski, on MSNBC or MSLSD or whatever you want to call it, promote the propaganda. That's how it works. And they own the conglomerates that own all the news stations. So that's what you need to understand, how you're being manipulated, okay? So just next time you hear something about Ukraine, just know that we're probably going to get involved whether you like it or not, and you might want to figure out where it is on a map, because we're going to be going there.
That's right. They're kicking off a new Cold War. They're definitely trying to kick off a new Cold War. They want tougher sanctions on Russia. They've already banned the import of Russian ammunition and firearms. And this is what we get when we allow the global elite to continue to bring us into these foreign wars of aggression. And there's a lot of evidence that we've done a proxy war, staged coup, and supported the insurgents who have overthrown the duly elected government there in Ukraine. Whether they were corrupt or not, they were elected, and we've went in there and backed the rebels who are neo-Nazis to overthrow them. And so who's benefiting from it? NATO and multinational corporations, not the United States public. We're not going to see, our gas prices are record high right now. $4 and going on up, and we're just entering the spring, so you could imagine what they're going to be this summer. Shouldn't we benefit from all the death and destruction and hell released in Afghanistan and Iraq from the oil prices being lower? No, well, we're not seeing any of the benefit from that. The multinational corporations that are stealing all their resources are, but the general public here in America can pay exorbitant gas prices while we see our dollar fall. It's disgusting. Wake up and realize what's going on, folks.
Yeah, you think you're benefiting from all these wars? Well, you're not. And not only is it evil that we're in all these wars and these illegal wars of aggression,
immoral.
It's immoral, but we're not even benefiting from the immorality.
The empire's not even...
Exactly. It's because it's a corrupt, immoral, evil empire that's not America anymore. It's a global elite running it, and we're being ignorant, and that's why we're not even benefiting from it, because we don't even know where Ukraine is on a map. So we probably don't know where Iraq is on a map. It's been proven. Most, Miss USA or whatnot doesn't even know where probably doesn't even know Egypt's in Africa. So we need to realize that to build a better society, we need to promote liberty and not be aggressive, especially when against people that aren't even aggressive towards us. Remember, it was 19 terrorists, supposedly. 19 terrorists. We're not going to fight a bunch of illegal wars because of 19 guys, okay? And future potential terrorists, like me and Sam, I guess. That's what they're saying, is that the stuff we're talking about is basically domestic terrorism. So yeah, you're not going to see the benefits, because there are no benefits. We're all meant to be poor, and the elite are meant to rule us, period. That's the plan.
Just like Hunger Games, we are not reaping the benefits of any of these foreign wars of aggression. A few elite executives at multinational corporations and the banking sector are the ones who are reaping the benefits. And who suffers? The American people and the poor folks in these countries that we're blowing the hell out of. All right? It's disgusting, it's immoral, and it's evil, and it needs to stop. Okay? These countries are not attacking us. We're doing everything we can to foment an attack against us now. So just be aware that we have no business there, and it's unconstitutional for us to be there. And we need the resources here at home to help Americans and let the Ukrainians sort out their own mess. All right? Moving on here to news that's pure evil. What they're doing is in Oregon, they're using biological medical waste, which is aborted babies, to go ahead and burn in incinerators to use as fuel in Marion County, Oregon, to power people's homes. And so this story goes on to say that the BC Health Ministry has admitted that they use human tissue, such as surgically removed cancerous tissue, amputated limbs, and fetus tissue to help power these incineration plants. And the company's name is Sterile Cycle. They're the ones that provide the medical waste for this. It's right out of a science fiction movie, Hellraiser or something.
Well,
this type of thing goes on.
Hey, why not sacrifice your firstborn, like Margaret Sanger said? Just sacrifice your firstborn. Maybe we'll use them for the furnace to keep the house and the hospitals heated. Are we really? That's why I said don't be apathetic, because we're burning babies, aborted fetuses. We've killed them, and then we've used their flesh to probably kill more of them. If we're heating a hospital, that's killing them already, probably. So, are we really going to be that demonic of a society? Do you see a benefit from aborting babies before they're even born? Because they're already saying, let's kill babies up to age 3. Thing is, they're starting to. It's all about depopulation and death. But they're starting to kind of say, if we abort them, might as well abort them if they have, a defect. Once they're already born, might as well just kill them. I thought that was murder, but apparently they're just rewriting, natural law. And so, yeah, of course, it's disgusting. And if it doesn't make you want to throw up just reading it, then you probably have issues, and you're probably a zombie that is, the same thing's going to happen to you. And your children, if you don't care about these unborn fetuses being burned to heat hospitals. Really? In 2014? Really? Wow. But the NSA needs to spy on us, just because, for safety.
The Associated Press reported about it. Reads like this: some of the fetal material came from the Canadian province of British Columbia, where regional health authorities have a contract with waste management firm Sterile Cycle, and send biomedical waste such as fetal tissue, that's the aborted babies, cancerous tissue, and amputated limbs to the Oregon facility. And so there it is there. The Associated Press is reporting on it. And what do you think they have in Canada that allows them to do this national health care? And that's the same thing Affordable Care Act has brought to America. That law is being implemented here through Covered California in this state. And we could expect to see the same type of evil activity happening out of medical disposal companies in the United States now. So you have to think about what are the implications of the Affordable Care Act? Nationalized health care, just like Canada. So we could expect the same thing, and it's pure evil. And if we don't speak out against this, then we can expect damnation, I would think.
Why not, when, next time your grandma dies, or, let's just burn her. Let's burn her to heat a hospital. How about that? Think about it that way. Maybe you'll think about it a little differently. Because if you don't care about the unborn, it doesn't work. You can't care about the born. Because we were all unborn at some point. So just keep that in mind. Next time someone that you love passes, maybe we should just burn them to heat some hospitals.
It's satanic and evil, and I don't even have words to describe it. It's out of this world. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Moving on to another story that you can't make up. There's been a battle. There's been a battle in Oklahoma about them displaying the Ten Commandments at their state house there, and so. Under the First Amendment, I guess we have to give Satan worshipers the same rights as every other religion. But they've taken it to an extreme now, and the Temple of Satan has announced plans to display a life-size statue. It's going to be a 10-foot-tall bronze statue of the Dark Lord, one of their satanic demons that they worship, Baphomet. Underneath a pentagram with two small children gazing up at him like he's something to be admired, when it's nothing more than a satanic demon. And so they did a good article about it. Vice News did a good article about it, and they show in-depth pictures of it. I don't even have words to describe it. They won a court lawsuit saying that they're allowed to display their satanic statue next to the Ten Commandments. And so I guess as far as freedom of speech is concerned, I have to support it. But as far as all rationale is concerned, and living under the Lord's sky, I have to condemn it. And so I don't know how long the statue is going to last, but I don't see Christian groups standing for open Satan worship at the Oklahoma State House. Stuart, it's...
I agree with Sam. We have to support their freedom of speech. That's fine. But this is how we solve this problem. The harassment of Christians and liberty groups and, just overall just good people in general. If the government's going to keep continuing to harass liberty groups, and then why aren't they harassing the Satanic Temple or whatever they're called? Why aren't they harassing them? Yeah, because they want that. They want that ideology to come about. They want to promote narcissism and they want to promote Satan worship. So that's the difference. It'd be one thing, I am for freedom of speech. I'm for the Constitution. If you want to worship Satan, that's fine. But when they're basically trying to force it on putting it at the State House, you got to be kidding me. When you're trying to force it on the public, but then not protecting other people's rights. That's the real issue, is that they promote it as, it's a free country, right? Well, no, it's not a free country anymore, because, apparently we're domestic terrorists just for doing this show, because we're speaking out against this. Even though we're okay with their right to freedom of speech, we're still going to be harassed, and we're going to be treated differently than these Satan worshipers, guaranteed. So that's the real problem, is if they weren't picking and choosing, then we probably would just say, if someone wants to worship Satan, go for it. But on average, most people, believe in, loving thy neighbor and, the natural law of man, which is basically the Ten Commandments, which was on this, I think was on.
That's what
the state
offended the Satan worshippers.
That's what offended the Satan worshipers. But regardless, even if they put a Baphomet statue up, whatever, it's probably hey, there might, we'll see if it lasts, like you said. I mean, I'm not going to promote, destruction of private property or, but hey, let them do it, and we'll see what happens. But the problem is it's the selective enforcement of the Constitution. Oh, you're going to harass liberty groups, but then, be completely fine with building a satanic statue on state property? Give me a break.
The ACLU is the one that filed a lawsuit on their behalf. So the ACLU supports Satan worshipers. Sorry to say. I'm a very open-minded person, and I don't get offended by much, but this is offensive to me because this is part of the degeneration of society. And where do you think all this evil comes from? They're openly worshiping a satanic demon. If you cannot see what's fundamentally wrong with that, and you think that it's okay, then
Is the ACLU actually defending the Ten Commandments on the thing?
No, the Ten Commandments are already there.
Oh, okay, I wonder if the ACLU will defend that being there, because it seems like, it's just like that's the problem with the ACLU is that they seem like they'll defend anyone but Christians. So that's really where their problem is. If they want to be a real Americans for Civil Liberties Union, you would defend everyone, including Christians.
Well, this nation was founded on Christian values.
Exactly.
And so that's a major reason why we've gone down the tubes here so fast, is because we strayed away from those Christian values. And this is an extreme example of open Satan worship now. They're trying to mainstream it, put it at a state house where they can openly worship Satan.
Who doesn't think? I mean, the average person's got to see that as ridiculous. I mean, even people that even the average person I see that has a cross on their neck, and they're not even really religious, and they aren't even that great of a person. They still, believe in God and believe in something, and they don't like Satan for the most part. Even if they're not the greatest person, they know that Satan's. To worship Satan is not a good thing. But, hey, whatever, Baphomet, whatever. Whatever, Baphomet. Maybe Beyonce will come and dedicate it, you think?
Wow.
Jay-Z and Beyonce? Have them do a concert?
We see the Satanism continually pushed in pop culture.
Yeah.
From Jay-Z to Beyonce, to Rihanna,
Kesha.
to Miley Cyrus, on and on and on, with all these pop stars, all the garbage they're pumping out to the youth. It's all based on nihilistic, Satan-worshiping behavior. And at the end of the day, that's going to leave you in a very bad place, all right? And so you don't want to go down that path. I definitely don't. And if you have any common sense, you'll stand up and speak out against worshiping Satan. All right?
Yeah.
Wow. It's just like almost too, you can't make this type of stuff up because it's too sensational and unbelievable if it wasn't true. And we didn't have photos proving that this type of activity is what's going on and being defended by the ACLU. Disgusting.
Yeah. It could work out to our advantage, though, because we are speaking out against it. I mean, it could... maybe it'll turn more people off to saying, you know what, I was kind of on the fence about whether I believed in God. Now that they have a statue of Baphomet and they want to promote worship of Satan, which everyone at their root level knows that worshiping someone who doesn't want, worshiping a God to basically say, be selfish and only do things for yourself.
Do what thou wilt.
Do what thou wilt, like Jay-Z puts on his sweatshirt. Maybe it'll actually wake some people up and say, you know what, I'm going to start believing in God. So maybe this will actually, it won't work to their advantage, and it'll backfire. I'm hoping. I mean, we're speaking out against it right now.
Look, that's where the power elite draw a lot of their power from, is these satanic rituals where they get into channeling interdimensional demon beings, all right, is the seriousness of what's going on here. And so if you can't see something fundamentally wrong with it, then you have serious problems. I suggest you do your research about Bohemian Grove and other occultic activities. Moving on here to wrap up the end of this part of the show, Benghazi, right? We haven't even talked about Benghazi. Recently, a whistleblower went on InfoWars, the Alex Jones show, Robert Tosh Plumley. I suggest everyone go on to Facebook and friend him right now while he's still blowing the whistle on a lot of stuff. I've done so, and he does a lot of great posts on there. So the Benghazi scandal, they went ahead and they let 4 Americans die there in the Benghazi. For people that don't know, Benghazi is in Libya, and you probably can't find that on a map either.
No way.
But that's where it's at, and it was a weapons stash for the CIA, and what they were doing there was transferring weapons to Al Qaeda, our sworn enemy, and the reason behind the war on terror. Okay, so we're doing backroom deals there. The shadow government is giving arms to Al Qaeda, and so that was the reason why, according to whistleblowers, according to CIA whistleblower Tosh Plumley, that's why they did the stand down and let those Americans die.
We might have to wait for next segment to get into this Benghazi situation, especially after hearing, was it Rachel Maddow? Oh, I'm sorry, no, Jay Carney. I don't know, they look the same. Yeah, Jay Carney, I mean, even just today, a reporter asked him, are you, yes or no question. He said, yes or no question. The reporter said that, yes or no, will the White House cooperate with the investigation? And of course, Jay Carney doesn't answer yes or no. He just flails around and kind of dibbles and dabbles and says, well, we've always been cooperative, but we're not going to cooperate since there's not an investigation, but we may or may not. It's just like, dude, just answer yes or no. But Jay Carney has just been a fraud since the beginning. I mean, it's like, just look at the guy. He looks like every host on MSNBC. Chris Hayes, they all look the same. I mean, they're meant to look, I'm sorry, what's the word? They're meant to look nice and
Very homely, very
scholarly,
and unthreatening.
Unthreatening. That's the word. They're meant to look unthreatening, so that when they lie to you, because they are lying to you, that you, even though you know you're being lied to you, but you're like, but he looks like such a nice, non-threatening, just peaceful person. But he's not. That's the way they've just social engineered us to literally believe absolute criminal liars because they talk like this, and I'm wearing trendy glasses, and my hair, and I'm a white guy that's non-threatening, and that's how they're playing you. And if you notice, when was the last time Barack Obama had to answer any questions? I mean, the guy's playing golf all day, but he has Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, Jay Carney answer all the questions, but he's not even answering the questions.
Doublespeak, 1984. We're beyond it already. Wake up and speak out and take action. We'll see you on the next part of the show.